What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and recently there have been some major developments happening in the movie industry and TV industry in general, not just affecting Marvel Studios, but all of the studios out there. In fact, as of today, all late night shows have been canceled. Shows like The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. These are now not going to produce any new episodes, but are going to simply be showing reruns. And this is all because of a writer's strike, which started this morning. The Writers Guild of America, both East and West, have made the decision to go on strike. And this will affect, like I mentioned, all studios really, but of course it will affect Marvel Studios as well. And if this doesn't get resolved soon, this will result in major delays for Phase 5 and Phase 6, including movies like Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, Avengers: Secret Wars, and other upcoming movies that were supposed to come out sooner rather than later, but now it looks like we might have to wait a bit. And this is really all happening because of streaming services with major studios. We're talking Netflix, Disney, Warner Brothers, Amazon, Apple, Sony, all of the really big ones. We live in a very different time now where streaming is basically our main form of entertainment with movies and TV shows. It has dominated cable, and especially during the pandemic where we couldn't really go to the theater and watch movies, streaming services were where the movies were released at. So as of yesterday, projects coming from these major studios are now on hold. Here's what the WGA had to say yesterday. The board of directors of WGA West and the council of WGA East, acting upon authority granted to them by their memberships, have voted unanimously to call a strike effective 12:01 a.m. Tuesday, May 2nd, which is today. The decision was made following 6 weeks of negotiating with Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Disney, Warner Brothers, NBC Universal, Paramount, and Sony under the umbrella of the AMPTP. Though our negotiation committee began this process intent on making a fair deal, the studios' responses have been wholly insufficient given the existential crisis writers are facing. Therefore, earlier today, the WGA negotiating committee unanimously rejected the AMPTP's final offer before deadline and recommended to the WGAW board and the WGAE council the issuance of a strike order. And like I mentioned, that is the Writers Guild of America West, WGAW, and the Writers Guild of America East, WGAE. And as of this morning, this has started. The writers are no longer going to work. Well, they are going to the studios, but they are going to picket. They are outside the studios demanding better pay. So basically, the writers' guilds tried to get a better deal for their writers, and the studios did not agree, so now they're on strike. And we're not sure how long this is going to last for. It could be quick, or it could be months. Hopefully this gets resolved soon, but let's take a look at some projects that could be very affected by the writers' strike at Marvel Studios. Now, I think one of the more devastating projects that will be affected by this is what we've been talking about a lot recently: the Fantastic Four. Now again, if this is just a very quick strike, it shouldn't affect it that much, especially since Marvel Studios right now is finalizing the casting choices for the Fantastic Four. However, we do know that if they even have a script, it's not close to being done yet. So the writing for the movie will come to a stop. And of course, there's only so much you can do in development for a movie if you don't have a script. Now again, we do have some time, but the release date for the Fantastic Four is now less than 2 years away. If this strike lasts for several months, it could delay the film. And unfortunately, based off of what we have heard from the news, this strike might not end soon. The Writers Guild of America said that they could not come to a fair agreement. However, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which is the trade association that bargains on behalf of the studios and television networks and streaming platforms, said in a statement that its offer to the Writers Guild included a generous increase in compensation for writers. So they have already offered to give them what they call a generous increase, but the Writers Guild did not accept it. So it looks like the writers are demanding much more, since the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers said that they have already offered a generous increase. Right now, what they are claiming they want is a proposal that would require companies to staff television shows with a certain number of writers for a specific period of time, whether they are needed or not by the studio. So you can clearly see how some studios would have a problem with that. They wouldn't want to pay for a writer if they are not needed at that time. Now, unfortunately, the movie that is closest to us that is most likely going to get delayed is the Thunderbolts, which is currently set for July 26th of next year, 2024. Basically, anything coming out this year should be fine because the script should be done for all of the projects, whether that's a Disney Plus show or a movie. Like the Marvels should be fine. However, if they wanted to go back and do any rewrites, that would be an issue. It would get rather complicated then and could lead to some delays. But the one that we truly have to worry about is the Thunderbolts. And of course, you have to remember that if one project ahead of all the others gets delayed, then those other projects behind it, following it up, they'll coincidentally get delayed as well as collateral damage, because Marvel Studios is going to have to shift the entire schedule if one shifts. And if this doesn't end soon, what is really unfortunate is the movie coming up after the Thunderbolts, which was currently still being written, is Deadpool 3, which is set to come out on November 8th of 2024. Of course, we're all waiting very eagerly to see Hugh Jackman return as the Wolverine and fight alongside and probably fight with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Now, the only possible good news about this is that Ryan Reynolds was writing a lot of the movie himself, and I'm sure he himself could continue to write the film. So this might not suffer a huge delay, but however, like I mentioned, if the Thunderbolts get pushed back, this will most likely get pushed back as well. But of course, the really big ones that nobody wants to see get pushed back are, of course, like I mentioned, the Fantastic Four, but also our next Avengers films, the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Unfortunately, these are at a pretty big risk of being pushed back right now, because the movies that are closer to us are closer to being finished. However, we know that Marvel Studios has already hired the writers for Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, and they have already begun to start working on these films. Well, now they have to stop. But right now, we're hoping that they are far enough out there with their release dates that nothing will really happen to them. And they are scheduled to be a year apart. So even if the Kang Dynasty gets delayed a little bit, hopefully that wouldn't really affect Avengers Secret Wars. However, we have to keep in mind that there are movies that are going to be released in between them. So it really just kind of has a domino effect. If one project gets delayed enough, the next one gets delayed and the next one, and so on and so forth. But some of them are a ways out there, like our Avengers film, so hopefully they are far enough out there to where they really aren't that affected, and hopefully Marvel Studios can just simply shuffle their schedules around just a little bit to make it to where things aren't really super delayed. But hopefully they figure this out very soon, and the Writers Guild of America can make a deal that they think is fair for them and also fair for the studios. Like I mentioned, this could last a few days or this could last several months. And if we hear anything else, we'll definitely be sure to do an update video. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest news. Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment down below so you can enter our giveaway for a chance to win an Xbox Series X, a PS5, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. Winner gets to pick, and we pick a winner at the end of each month. Please don't forget to like the video, and you can always follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.